So in the last class, what we have dealt with is transistors. So we have seen the transistor basics like the properties of a transistor, how the currents are there in a transistor, and then we have seen the transistor characteristics for different configurations. Later on, we have done the small signal analysis of a transistor using hybrid parameters or two-port networks. In today's class, we'll be discussing about transistor biasing and stabilization. Okay. So two topics to be covered, that is one is the stabilization, other is your biasing. So please respond, what is the biasing? What do you mean by biasing as far as you know till now? Please respond, what is biasing? Please unmute and answer, what is biasing? Please respond. Am I audible? Please respond, what is biasing? So to begin with, we are talking about forward biasing of a PN junction diode and reverse biasing, right? So what do you mean by biasing?
Setting up some initial conditions such as current or voltage.
So setting up some kind of voltage values, right? So if you are giving a positive voltage or a negative voltage to maintain some voltage by means of a external supply. Basically biasing means you are giving some external supply, either means by means of a battery or a RPS or by means of external circuit. You are providing a voltage to the uh, transistor or a diode in such a way that some regions will be forward bias or some regions will be reverse bias, right? So we'll look on to what happens if you are changing the biasing. If you're not properly giving the biasing, what happens, let us see. Okay, so transistor basically is a, we are using the transistor mostly for this amplification property and for faithful amplification. So please mute yourself. So transistor works as an amplifier. So for faithful amplification means that only the magnitude should be changed or increased, but the wave shape should not be changed. Okay, wave shape can be changed by, there may be phase shift, but there should not be any distortion in the signal shape. Okay. So for this to happen, three conditions should be satisfied. First thing is that your emitter base junction should be forward biased, and then second thing is collector base junction should be reverse biased. Please mute yourself. Collector base junction should be reverse bias, and there should be proper zero signal current, collector current. So zero signal means that when you are not giving any kind of alternative signal or input signal from the input terminals. So when you are not providing any signal at the input terminals, only you are providing the biasing voltages, there should be a proper operating point. Your quiescent point should be a stable point. Okay. So if the currents are not proper, then it will affect the circuit. When the actual input signal is provided, your input signal will be not only be amplified, but its wave shape will also be altered. Okay, so in order to avoid that, you should ensure that even before giving an any kind of input signal, or we're calling it as a zero signal, for zero signal your operating point should be a proper point and should be maintained. Okay, so your operating point is nothing but your IC value and output current and output voltage. Your operating point basically is nothing but, so if you're taking a common emitter transistor, so basically we'll be using common emitter transistor as an amplifier. So for CE amplifier, for CE amplifier, so input terminals are, so what are the input terminals? Input terminals are base and emitter. Output terminals are collector and emitter, right? So when we are talking about the operating point, it's nothing but your your output voltage comma output current means your VCE comma IC. Okay, this IC value should be properly maintained. So our entire point of concentration will be regarding this, how to maintain this IC when there is no signal. Okay, so this IC value will be maintained stably if the biasing is proper. So if the circuit biasing voltage are proper, then it will be stable point. Otherwise, it will provide distortions in the output signal. Okay, so biasing should be correctly done. Okay, so biasing can be done either by means of external battery, a fixed battery source, or by means of an external circuit across your transistor. So you'll be taking a voltage source. From the voltage you are not directly connecting to the transistor, but by means of some kind of resistors or any kind of network you will be using in between, such that you are going to control the voltage given to the transistor, or currents to the transistor. Current flowing into the transistors can be controlled. Okay, so in general this method will be used. So we'll be using a external circuit or associative circuit for the transistor. Such kind of circuit used with the transistor is known as a bias circuit or biasing circuit. Okay, so we are using a biasing circuit only to ensure that we have a stable operating point, or to ensure that your emitter base junction is forward bias, collector base junction is reverse bias, and your operating point IC value will be stable. Now let us come to the topic called stabilization. So stabilization is nothing but maintaining that operating point without any kind of disturbances. Okay, so for small changes in the voltage, there should not be a much distortion in this operating point. The operating point should not move away, so it should be almost a stable point. Okay, so there are two factors which are responsible for shifting this operating point. The first point is that most of the transistor parameters are temperature dependent, and they are very much sensitive to the temperature. Okay, so temperature sensitive means that if there is small change in the temperature in the surroundings or within the transistor parameters, they will be widely varied. Okay, so for example, you know that your leakage current or reverse bias current. So in a diode, do you remember this point that for every 10-degree rise in temperature, your reverse current I naught will be doubled? Do you remember that point? Please respond. Please respond. Hello, am I audible?
Sir,
Yes, right. So in a diode, when you are connecting a PN junction diode in reverse bias, your what is the current you are getting? I is equal to minus I naught, right? That minus I naught is your reverse current, that is due to the minority carriers. It is mostly dependent upon the temperature. You know that for every 10-degree rise in temperature, the I naught value will be doubled. Okay. So similarly, here you have a reverse biased collector base junction. Okay. So when the temperature is changing, then this current in this reverse bias, that is your IC naught or your reverse leakage current, will be, this leakage current will be also be changing, and this IC naught will further affect the IC value. Okay, so the first thing is that because this transistor parameters are temperature sensitive, your operating point will be shifting. It will not be at a fixed point. Secondly, sometimes in our experiments, if one of the element is not properly working, you want to change it or replace with another identical element, right? So if you are replacing a transistor with another transistor of the same batch, okay, so even though the manufacturing sheet will say that the values are the same, but in reality, no two transistors will be identical. Okay, so if you are replacing one transistor with another transistor, even though both are of the same type, their values like beta value or VBE values, they will be different. Okay, those small changes will reflect in the operating point. So if you are replacing one transistor with another transistor, it will result in shifting of the operating point. Okay, next. So for the three, and the one more region is the thermal runaway is there. So we shall see each and every point. So temperature dependence of IC and then individual variation, then thermal runaway now. So already we have spoken regarding this thing, that is temperature dependence of IC. So you know the relationship between IC and IB and IC naught. So IC is equal to beta IB plus 1 plus beta into IC naught, where IC naught is nothing but your reverse leakage current. Okay, so IC, our operating point IC, this should be a fixed point. This value should not vary much with the temperature. That is our motto. Okay, but however, this IC is in turn depending upon two values, IB, it is depending upon beta, it's depending upon IB, it's depending upon IC naught. Okay, and you know that this leakage current IC naught is greatly influenced by temperature. IC naught doubles for every 10 degree rise in temperature. Okay, and also your beta will also be dependent upon temperature. So beta is dependent on temperature, your IC naught is dependent on temperature, and along with that your VBE value. Okay, it's a voltage drop between your base and emitter. That value will depend upon the temperature. Okay, also your VCE value, your output voltage VCE across your collector emitter, that also will change with the temperature, but comparing to the VBE, your VCE changes will be very small. And you know that we can tell that IC is nearly independent of your VCE. Okay, so three things are going to change. Your IC naught value is going to change, your beta value is going to change with temperature, and VBE is going to change with temperature. Okay, because of the changes in these parameters, your IC will not be a fixed value, but it is going to vary with temperature, which is undesirable. Okay, so what we need to have is a fixed stable IC value which should not change with temperature. Okay. Second is individual variation. We have seen that if we are replacing one transistor with another transistor, then those beta values and VB values will not be the same, and hence your operating point or your IC value is going to change. Okay, so we need to ensure that irrespective of the small changes in this beta or VBE values, your operating point IC should not change. We should ensure that this is a problem that we are having. We shall see the solution at a later point of time. And then finally we have the thermal runaway. So thermal runaway means that it's a accumulation of heat because of which your transistor gets burnt. Okay, so in simple sentences, heat will be accumulated, and then because of the heat your transistor gets spoiled. Okay, so your collector junction has a maximum withstand temperature of around 60 degrees to 100 degrees centigrade if it's a germanium transistor, and 150 degrees to 225 degrees centigrade if it's a silicon transistor. In case the range of the temperature is increasing beyond these values, then the transistor will not work properly and will get permanently damaged. Okay, this increase in temperature is contributed by thermal runaway. So let us see what is thermal runaway. So initially we have a current flowing in the collector. From the collector you have a current flowing into the transistor. Because of this current, you will have a small temperature will be there. So there will be a rise in temperature will be there, because initially there is no stabilization done. So because you have not ensure that your IC is not going to change, what happens? Because your IC is changing, your IC naught value will also change. Your IC naught is nothing but your leakage current. So if your current, your leakage current is increasing, know that it will affect it will again result in rise in temperature. Because of your leakage current, your transistor temperature will further increase. Because temperature is increasing, again your IC will increase. Again it will lead to increase in IC naught. So it's a kind of cycle. So first, what you are seeing is, first your temperature increasing, resulting in increase in IC value, this will result in increase in IC naught value. Because your IC naught value is increasing, again your temperature value is increasing. Because your temperature is increasing, again your IC naught value will increase. It will further increase the IC, and so on. This is vicious cycle. Okay, in this, because of this continuous increase in temperature, at one point your transistor will be burning out. Okay, this self-destruction of unstabilized transistor is known as thermal runaway. Okay, so you are not doing externally, you are not destroying the transistor externally, it is destroying on its own, only because of accumulation of temperature, because of the changes in the current value. Okay, so we are seeing the problem. Okay, so we need to quantify the problem, right? So please respond. Did you understand these 3 points? Please respond. What is thermal runaway? So what do you understand about thermal runaway? Please respond. Please respond. Two 221. Please respond. 221. What did you understand by thermal runaway?
Sir, if the heat, sir, if the heat in the transistor increases by its own due to changes in current, it is called thermal runaway.
So it's a heat accumulation which is going to continuously or cumulatively taking place. Okay, then it is called a thermal runaway. Thank you. Okay, so next let us quantify these things. Okay, so we till now we are seeing the problems, so we need to know how to solve them. Okay, so first we shall simply tell a kind of a qualitatively we can discuss the techniques, then we can go for the quantification. So qualitatively we can address this problem by two techniques. So first technique is known as stabilization technique, second technique is known as compensation technique. So in the stabilization technique, what we are going to do is we are going to use some kind of bias circuit, a resistive bias circuit. So we are using basically a simple resistive networks in order to ensure that your IC will be almost constant in spite of your variations in IC naught or beta or VBE. So although you have a changes in IC naught or beta or VBE, your resistive network will ensure that current IC will be nearly constant. It means that your operating point is stable. That's called stabilization technique. Second is that if there are any, we will be using temperature sensitive devices. Okay, so what are temperature sensitive devices that we have already seen? Your diode is a temperature sensitive device, your transistor is a temperature sensitive device, your thermistors, so thermistor is nothing but thermal resistor. I can say it as a thermal resistor. Okay, so these are temperature sensitive devices. So whenever there is a change in temperature, these parameters inside these diodes or transistors or thermistors were also going to change. Okay, so these are going to produce some voltage and currents, so which these voltage or currents will be used to compensate for the changes in IC. So we shall see that they will be connecting the circuit in such a way that if there is an increase in IC, okay, they will produce a corresponding compensating voltage or current such that there will be your increase in IC will be compensated by a increase in the values of these elements. Okay, these values will be produced like a compensation. So if there is a increase in delta, so let us say that there is delta IC which is increasing, they will produce compensating voltage and current such that there will be a additional minus delta IC, or there will be decrease. So overall delta IC will be nearly equal to 0. Okay. So what we are doing is that we are keeping additional temperature sensitive devices. Okay. In order to balance the or counter the increase in the or changes in the current. This is called compensation technique. So first what we'll be doing is we'll be seeing the stabilization techniques in which we'll try to maintain IC as constant in spite of the variation IC0, beta and VBE by means of using some resistive networks. Second is compensation techniques in which we are going to use temperature sensitive devices which are going to produce some compensating voltage and currents such that your IC is not going to change appreciably. Okay. So in order to check whether our compensation or stabilizations are proper, we need to first define or quantify some factors. Okay, so let us see them. The first factor is called stability factor. Your stability factor is nothing but how much IC has changed when there is a small change in IC0 value. Okay, so stability factor S is nothing but rate of change of collector current IC with respect to reverse saturation current IC0, keeping beta and VB as constant. So in the previous slide we have seen that with temperature three things are going to vary. What are the three things that are going to vary? What are the three things that are going to vary?
Beta, IC0, IC.
Yeah, so three things are, first thing is IC0 is going to vary, second thing is beta is going to vary, third thing is VB is going to vary. Okay, so we'll be defining a kind of stability factors. So we'll be defining three stability factors in which we'll be measuring the change in IC when there is a change in one of these parameters. So first we'll be discussing about change in S when change S is equal to delta dou IC by dou IC0. So we'll be checking how much IC has changed when IC0 has changed. We'll be keeping the remaining two parameters as constant. So when beta comma VB is constant. Okay. So we have three parameters, right? So first parameter is IC0, beta, and then VBE. So we'll be checking how much IC has changed with respect to IC0. Okay, if you want to check only how IC is changing with respect to IC0, what we are going to fix? We are going to fix that beta and VB is constant. So if we are deciding in such a manner, then we'll call the stability factor as S. Okay, so how much change in IC with respect to IC0, and then S beta. So this here what we are going to check is how much IC is varying, with respect to changes in beta. Okay, so what two other things should be kept constant? What things should be kept constant? Please respond.
IC0 and VB.
IC0 and VBE.
So IC0 and VBE will be kept constant. Next we have SV and the stability factor called SV. So in this stability factor we will be checking the variation of IC with respect to VBE, and then which two parameters should be kept constant? Which two parameters should be kept constant? Please respond.
Beta and IC naught.
Beta and IC naught. So we'll be keeping beta and IC naught as constant. Okay. The same thing we are going to see in these slides. Okay. So first stability factor is S. The stability factor S is defined as rate of change of collector current IC with respect to reverse saturation current IC naught, keeping beta and VB as constant. So S is dou IC by dou IC naught. It's a partial fraction. Okay. It's a partial differentiation dou IC by dou IC naught. And then you can also write it as delta IC by delta IC naught when beta and VB are constant. So this thing is important. This point is important. We are keeping the beta and VB as constants. Okay. So what do you require? You require a change in IC or you do not require a change in IC? If IC naught is changing, do you want IC to change or you should not? Yeah. So you should not want change in IC, right? So obviously this change delta IC, this change delta IC should be a low value, right? We should not see any kind of change in delta IC, right? So always which thing is preferred? High value for S is preferred or low value of S is preferred? Stability factor should be high value or low value? Low value. So you always a stability factor S with lowest value is preferred. So lower value is preferred. So if your circuit is having a very low stability factor S means it's a very good circuit. If your stability factor for your given circuit is large or higher value is there means it's a bad network or a bad circuit. Okay, so always we'll prefer for a circuit with lower value of S. Okay, so smaller the value of S, higher will be your stability. So if S value is low, it means that your circuit is more stable. Okay, and the lowest possible value of S is 1. S, the lowest value possible is equal to 1 because you are finding out change in delta IC by delta IC naught. You cannot completely avoid the change in IC, but at least this relation should be proportional. It should not be greater than that. Okay. So closer to, if the S value is near to 1 means, if it is near to 1, it's a very good circuit. If the S value is large, let us say the S value is equal to 100, then it's an unstable circuit. Okay, so we require a stable circuit. So we should require S value should be close to 1. Okay, and then we shall see the stability factors S beta and SP. Okay, so S beta is nothing but rate of change of IC with beta, keeping IC naught and VB as constant. So S beta is equal to dou IC by dou beta equal to delta IC by delta beta. And then we have stability factor SB. This is defined as rate of change of IC with respect to VBE, keeping IC naught and beta as constant. It is SB is equal to dou IC by dou VBE and delta IC by delta VBE. So we need to derive some equations. So in order to check this delta IC by delta IC naught. So we'll be deriving an expression for this stability factor S and an expression for this stability factor S beta now. Okay. So you already know that if your transistor has to act as an amplifier, you should ensure that it should be always in active region. If you are keeping a transistor in cutoff region, it acts like a open switch. If you are keeping the transistor in saturation region, it acts like a closed switch, right? So your transistor should be always in active region in order that it acts like an amplifier. So we are taking a NPN transistor. Okay, so you already know the relationship between the currents and already you know this current relations. Know that IC equal to beta IB plus 1 plus beta IC naught, right? Now, what we need to find out? We need to find out S. So, what is S? S is nothing but, please respond, what is S value? What's the definition we have taken for S? Please respond. Please respond. What is the stability factor S definition that we have seen just now?
Ratio of dose IC by dou IC.
Ratio of dou IC by dou IC naught, right? So we'll be defining this value from this equation. So if you want to get the dou IC by dou IC naught, what you need to do? First you need to partially derivate, do the differentiation for this, right? So what we are going to do is, initially we'll be differentiating this equation with respect to IC. Okay, now tell me what is dou IC by dou IC? What happens when you differentiate IC with respect to IC? It will be equal to 1. So 1 equal to, you are keeping beta value and VBE values are constant. Okay, so beta is a constant value. Okay, so what will be the differentiation of beta into IB? Please respond. What will be the differentiation of beta into IB?
Beta into dou IB
Dou
by
IB
dou
by
IC.
dou IC. So it is beta into dou IB by dou IC. Plus again this is the constant 1 plus beta. So this will be equal to dou IC naught by dou IC. Okay. Now you know that S is equal to dou IC by dou IC naught. So what will be this value? What is this value?
1
Dou
by
IC
S.
naught by dou IC 1 by S, right? So we'll be replacing this term with 1 by S. So you can write 1 is equal to beta into dou IB by dou IC plus 1 by beta, 1 plus beta into 1 by ES. Okay. Now you need to take this beta into dou IB by dou IC to the left hand side. So it is 1 minus beta into dou IB by dou IC equal to 1 plus beta by S. Now if you take S to the left hand side, it becomes numerator. You can bring entire term to the denominator on the right hand side. So it becomes S is equal to 1 plus beta by 1 minus beta into dou IB by dou IC. Okay. So this is expression for stability factor. Okay. So in the upcoming classes, what we are going to see is that we are going to see different bias circuits in which we need to check the value of this stability factor. So if it's a very low value, then it's a good circuit. So if it's a large value, that kind of circuit should be avoided as much as possible. Okay. So the value of dou IB by dou IC value depends upon type of biasing arrangement, and we need to check that SC will be a low value. Next, the expression for stability factor S beta. Okay. So like earlier, we'll be deriving again this equation. We have the equation IC equal to beta IB plus 1 plus beta into IC naught, right? This equation you have. Now again you need to derive this equation, or you can differentiate this equation with respect to dou IC. Okay. But when you are defining S beta, so which value will be changing, which values will be constant, which parameters will be changing, which parameters will be constant? Please respond. Please respond. Which values will be changing, which values will be constant?
Beta will be changing, other constants will be constant.
So beta changes, IC naught is constant, VB is constant. This is constant, this is also constant, right? So in this expression, beta is a variable now, IC naught is a constant now. Unlike in the case where we have derived for S. Okay. When you are deriving for S, there beta is a constant, IC naught is a variable. But here beta is a variable, IC naught is a constant. Okay. Now If you derive this, differentiate this expression with respect to IC, again on the left hand side you have 1. Dou IC by dou IC will be equal to 1. And then you have beta and IB. If you are differentiating UV, what's the differentiation for UV? If you are differentiating UV with respect to X, what will be? What it will be? Please respond.
UV dash plus VU dash.
So U into dou V by dou X plus V into dou U by dou X, isn't it? Same thing we are going to do. So first we are keeping that beta as constant. So beta into, we are differentiating IB with respect to IC. So it is dou IB by dou IC. And then we are keeping IP, we are writing it over here, and then differentiating beta with respect to IC, that is dou beta by dou IC. Okay, and then next in the second expression you have IC not as constant. Okay, so if you are differentiating IC naught is constant, then if you differentiate this expression, it will become simply IC naught into dou beta by dou IC. So this term, differentiation for this term will become 0. Okay, so only this term will be left out, that is beta IC naught value. If you differentiate, you are getting IC naught into dou beta by dou IC. Okay, now again what you need to do is you need to gather all this dou beta by dou IC terms to the left hand side. Okay, or you can gather on one side. So this is dou beta by dou IC term, this is dou beta by dou IC term. Okay, so if we write together dou beta by dou IC into IC naught plus IB is equal to 1 minus beta into dou IB by dou IC. Okay, and know that dou beta by dou IC is nothing but 1 by S beta. Why? You know that S beta is nothing but dou IC by dou beta. Okay, so this is a reciprocal of this definition S beta. Okay, so it is 1 by S beta into IC naught plus IB equal to 1 minus beta into dou IB by dou IC. Okay, so if you take this to the right hand side, it becomes S beta in the numerator, and you are bringing this entire term to the left hand side to the denominator. So what is S beta? S beta is equal to IC naught plus IB by 1 minus beta into dou IB by dou IC. Okay, so these derivations are important both from exam point of view, and even to solve the numericals you need to know these expressions. Okay, so you need to practice these simple derivations. So what we are doing, we are taking the simple current equation IC equal to beta IP plus 1 plus beta into IC naught. If you are deriving for stability factor S, we are differentiating with respect to IC, keeping beta as constant and IC naught as variable. If we are deriving for S beta, we are deriving the expression with respect to IC, but however here IC naught will be constant, whereas beta will be a variable. Okay, now that we have derived the factors like stability factor S and stability factor S beta, so we need to check for how these stability factors are varying in different biasing circuits. So we have 5 different biasing circuits to be covered within our syllabus. The first circuit is known as fixed bias circuit. It's also known as base register method. Second circuit is known as collector to base bias circuit, or we can also call it as base bias with collector feedback. Third circuit is called as base bias with emitter feedback. Fourth circuit is known as base bias with both collector and emitter feedbacks. And then finally we have, instead of base bias, we have a emitter bias, or it's also known as self bias circuit, or it is popularly known as voltage divider bias circuit. So we'll be studying each of these circuits, bias circuits, and we'll be checking the values of your stability factor. So we need to check in each of the circuits whether your S value is a high value or low value. So if we say high value, are we going to take that circuit, or we are going to discard that circuit? Please respond. If S value is high, you have to discard the circuit. So if you are having a low S value, we have to, we can use that circuit as an amplifier. Okay, in our amplifier circuit, we should check that a bias circuit in such a way that your S value should be a low value. Okay, so that's how we are going to do that. So we have to check for transistor bias circuits. Okay, so till now you are in all the transistor circuits, you are shown that for the input circuit you are giving one bias voltage, and for the output circuit we are giving another bias voltage. So we are drawing the circuits as if we are giving two different voltage sources or two different batteries we are giving. But in reality we'll be giving only one voltage source. Usually one voltage source in the output circuit VCC will be given. Only one battery will be, or one RPS will be provided. From the same node where we have to give the voltage to the input port and also to the output terminals. So both at the input terminal and the output terminal we are going to give the voltages by taking the supply only from the single point of source. Okay, so only one source of supply will be used. Okay, so earlier we used to write that if it's a common emitter circuit, we used to write that the common emitter circuit. Okay, this is emitter, this base, this collector. So here we used to give a voltage, here we used to give another voltage, right? But now we are not going to give two different voltages. We need to give supply from the same source. Okay, for practical purposes. So what's the advantage? If we do not require two different sources, so it is economical. Okay, and also it is simple. Your circuit will be more simpler. Okay, also while constructing any of these circuits, biasing circuits, you should ensure that the collector road is selected such that the voltage between your collector and emitter should not fall below 0.5 volts for germanium or 0.7 volts for silicon. So always your VC value should be greater than 0.5 for germanium or greater than 0.7 for silicon transistor. So in order to ensure that your transistor will be always in active region. Okay. So let us see the first circuit for today is called fixed bias or pairs resistor method. Okay. So in this circuit what we are taking is NPN transistor in common emitter configuration. So common emitter means which terminal will be grounded? Please respond. Which terminal will be grounded? Emitter terminal will be grounded, right? So we are grounding the emitter terminal. Okay. And in case if you have to apply a AC input signal, we have to apply between your base and emitter. We have to take the output between your collector and emitter. Okay, so earlier case what we used to do, we used to give directly a voltage source between your base and emitter and a voltage source between your collector and emitter. Okay, but now we are not doing that. We are giving only one voltage source, that is VCC. We are only giving one supply for the entire transistor. Okay, but by using this resistor RB, or load resistor RL, we are ensuring that the bias voltages are maintained. Okay, so by choosing different values of RB and RL, you can ensure that these values VBE and VCE values will be biased properly. Okay, so first I'll erase this slide. Okay, so in the fixed bias circuit what we are going to do is we are directly connecting the supply from VCC to the base by means of a base resistor RB. This RB is a very large quantity. So why your RB should be a large value? Please respond. Why your resistance RB should be a large value?
To avoid IC current.
your IB, because if your RB is a small value, then your current IB will be a large value. You know that base current will be a very small value. Usually your base current will be in the order of microamperes to milliamperes, right? So you should ensure that you should choose a proper RB value, a high resistance value RB, such that your IB will be a small quantity. Okay, your RB should be a large value. So it will be connected. So although in this circuit only one terminal is shown, but actually you know that for every power supply you have two terminals, one positive terminal and another negative terminal. Okay, so if you are showing that plus VCC, I mean to say that you should internalize that, you should assume that I have connected to the positive terminal of the supply and the negative terminal is connected to the ground. Okay, so negative terminal is always connected to the ground. Okay, so this is your actual VCC. Out of these two terminals, the positive terminal is connected to the base if it's a NPN transistor. In case you're taking a PNP transistor, in such a case you will be connecting the negative terminal to the base and connecting the positive terminal to the ground. Okay, so why we are choosing such kind of supplies? Because in NPN transistor your base emitter should be a forward biased circuit. It should be forward bias means, so it's NPN means this is N, this is P, this is N. So a positive supply should be given at the base for NPN. If it's a PNP transistor, a negative supply should be given at the base, because your base will be N type. Okay, so for this to be forward bias, you should give a positive supply. Okay, and this is your emitter, this is your base, and the voltage will be VBE. Similarly, this value is VCE. Okay, so initially we are not giving any kind of input signal, so we'll calling it as a zero signal. Okay, so now we need to do the analysis of this circuit, and we should choose a proper RB value in order to maintain the collector current IC. Okay, so let us see that. Okay, so for this circuit analysis, what we need to do is we need to write the KVL equations. Okay, so we have a circuit. So let us see that. Again, I'll draw this battery. Okay, so in this circuit, this terminal is A. Again, I can call the same terminal as A. This terminal is G, or this terminal is G. Okay, now if you write the KVL around this closed loop A, B, E, G, A, that is starting from this positive terminal of the battery, I'm moving towards the IB and to the ground or the emitter, and then back to the negative terminal and to the positive terminal. So this is the loop I am considering. Now you should tell me the KVL equation. I am moving in a anti-clockwise direction. Tell me the KVL equation. Starting, I am moving, the observer is moving from this point A. Okay. So let us say that he is moving from this point G. Okay, if not this point, I'm moving from negative terminal of the battery to the positive terminal. Okay, so whether it will be plus VCC or minus VCC, please tell. I'm moving from negative terminal of the battery towards the positive terminal of the battery, so it will be plus VCC. Okay, then I have read at this point A. From A, I have to move towards the point B. Okay, current in the resistor is, and RB is downward, and also as an observer I am also moving in the same direction. Okay, so it will be a drop in voltage across the resistor or rise in voltage when the current and observer both are in the same direction. Please respond whether you should write a drop in voltage or a rise in voltage.
Drop in voltage minus IR
So
minus IB
yeah,
RB.
minus IR, so it is minus IB RB. Now I have come to the base point B. Okay, from base towards the emitter, I have a voltage drop VBE. So VB is a drop between your base and emitter. So I am writing the drop as VBE, minus VBE. Okay. Now come back to the ground point. So this ground point is nothing but this. So I completed the entire circuit. So entire loop I have covered. So I'll be writing it as 0. So this is my KVL equation. So that's what I'm writing. Plus VCC minus IBRB minus VB equal to 0. Okay. From this equation what you are getting RB value. RB value will be equal to VCC minus VBE by IB. Okay. Now you know that IB is nearly equal to. So I'll be erasing all this. Now you know that IC is nearly equal to beta IB. Of course, you have a ICB not term also will be there, but for time being, you are neglecting that. You are writing only IC as nearly equal to beta IB. Okay. So in such a case, you can replace this value with, instead of writing IB, you can write it as, instead of writing IB, you will be writing it as IC by beta. So in this place, it will be IC and the beta will come in the numerator. So RB will be equal to beta into VCC minus VBE by IC. Okay, so if you're taking a RB value such that it is equal to beta times VCC minus VBE by IC, then you can have this fixed bias circuit. Okay, and again here you should observe that. So what will be the usual value of VCC and VBE values? Typically, please tell me the VBE value for a transistor. If it's a silicon transistor, what will be the VBE values? What will be the cut-in values of a transistor or a diode? Please respond loudly.
0.7.
Yeah, 0.7.
0.7.
Whereas the supply voltage VCC will be around 12 volts or 15 volts, right? So VCC will be a large value. So you know that 12 or 15 volts will be greater than your 0.7 or 0.3 volts. Okay. So you can also neglect this VB value for practical purposes. So you will be getting RB value nearly equal to beta into VCC by IC. This is the value of your base resistor. So if you want to connect a transistor in fixed bias, you should choose a base resistor value which is nearly equal to beta times the supply voltage divided by your operating current value IC. Okay. So now let us check for this circuit how your stability factor S will be. Okay. So what is your stability factor S that we have derived in the last class? So in the last slide we have derived the stability
IC plus
factor.
IB by 1 minus IB by IC.
So S is equal to 1 plus beta by 1 minus beta into dou IB by dou IC. Okay. So basically S is nothing but dou IC by dou IC naught. Okay. And then we have derived an expression for that. We are writing it as 1 plus beta by 1 minus beta into dou IB by dou IC. Okay. So we are considering this expression. We will be considering this expression for this circuit. Okay. So you need to find out what is the value of dou IB by dou IC and you have to replace this value. Okay. So let us go back to the equation number 1. So what is equation number 1? So equation number 1 is your KVL equation. Okay. So what is the KVL equation that we have? VCC minus IBRB minus VB equal to 0. Okay. So if you take this KVL equation and then if you are deriving this equation with respect to IC. Okay. Okay. So you know that VCC value is constant value or a variable value? Supply voltage. Please respond. Supply voltage is a constant value or a variable voltage? Constant value. So if you are doing the derivation of a constant value, what's the value? If you are deriving or you are differentiating?
0, sir.
So
0.
if you are differentiating with respect to IC, this value will be equal to 0. Okay. And then you know that RB is also a resistance, a constant resistance. So RB is constant. So if you differentiate it with respect to IC, this will become dou IB by dou IC. Okay. And know that while you are defining the S value, you are keeping the beta value and VBE values as constant, isn't it? Please respond. What value should be kept constant while you are defining S value? Please respond. Which value should be kept constant? So we have three parameters. If you right,
Beta and VC not.
beta value,
VCC.
VBE value, IC naught. So while we are defining the S value, we are varying IC with respect to IC naught. We are keeping beta and VBE as constant values. Okay, so VB is constant. It means that if you differentiate this value, what will you will get? What value you will get if you differentiate? Please respond.
0.
What will the differentiation? So it will be 0. Okay.
0.
So finally, what you are arriving at? You are arriving that dou IB by dou IC value is equal to 0, isn't it? Isn't it? So you are getting dou IB by dou IC value is equal to 0. Okay. Now replace this value in this equation. So what does it become? S is equal to 1 plus beta by 1 minus beta into 0. So this is 0. So it is simply S is equal to 1 plus
1 plus beta.
Okay. So S value will be equal to 1 plus beta. Okay. Then now tell me what are the practical values of a beta that you have seen for a transistor. For a transistor, while you are telling about the derivations of alpha, beta and gamma, I have already told you the practical values. I told you that alpha will be very near to the 1. Beta value will be within the range of, please respond, what are the values I have told in the last classes?
0.9.
Beta value, I am asking about beta value.
1 to 200,
So
500.
it's around 20 to 500. That's the value I have quoted. So all the practical values of beta will be a large quantities. Okay. So beta value, typical value might be around 100 or 150 or 200, maybe 300 or like that. Okay. If you're taking any practical transistor in your lab experiment, typically that value will maybe around 250 or 300 value. Okay. So then only you can consider the transistor a good transistor. If you are getting a very low beta value, it means it's not a very good transistor. Okay. So your beta value is, let us take that a small value 100. Okay. So if you're taking the beta value as 100, what will be your stability factor S value? What will be the stability factor S? It will be equal to 1 plus 100, that is equal to 101, isn't it? So 101 is a large value or a small value? Large value or small value?
Large.
Large value.
So
Large.
so ideally what should be the S value that we require? S should be equal to 1, right?
1.
But we are getting 101. It means that if there is a change in IC naught value, that change in IC naught value will be reflected 101 times in the change in IC. So if your IC is changing, let us say that if your IC naught is changing 1 time, it means that IC naught will be changing 101 times the change in IC naught. Okay. IC will be changing 101 times the change in IC naught. Okay. So it will be a large change in IC even for a small change IC naught. So this is not desired. Okay. Your IC will not be stable. Okay. So I can say that this circuit is having a very poor stability, isn't it? Because S value is a very large quantity. You are getting 1 plus beta. It's the largest value possible. Okay, so I can say that the circuit has a very poor stability. Hence, this kind of circuit is rarely used. So for all practical circuits, we'll avoid this kind of biasing. This biasing circuit is known as fixed bias, okay, or base resistor method. This circuit method is rarely used because we are at a disadvantage because the circuit is having a very poor stability. Okay, so we will end the class here. We'll discuss the remaining biasing circuits in the upcoming classes. Okay, so take that in a second. You can join the next class.